Welcome back to the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. It is August 11th, 2022, which means it's Thursday, which also means that AEW Dynamite was last night, and it was the Quake by the Lake special, the TV special that they've been building up to for a few weeks now. We just started doing our weekly reviews for AEW Dynamite once again, and typically it's just been me, but for this very special occasion, he's made his return. He's here. And it's very fitting that he's back on the same show that CM Punk returned. So, ladies and gentlemen, fans of the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast, without further ado, Joey is once again back on the AEW review show.
Yes, I am here, and for now, at least, I can't promise that I'll be consistently here. But as I get back into the swing of things, of me going back to work in a few weeks, I should be more present on the podcast. Depending on my work schedule. But once I am free, to do that, I will be joining. So, yes, it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you. It's, I think everybody who's done a solo podcast or a solo YouTube video for our channel has come to the conclusion that doing it by yourself is not nearly as easy
for sure.
as having somebody to bounce off of. So, it's a pleasure to have you back.
Thank you.
And for those unaware why Joey hasn't been on the podcast is he's been doing a stint in Vietnam. It's his second tour of duty over there after the first Vietnam War.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, really avenge my country for Vietnam. I'm trying to get another war going, so maybe we could win this one.
Maybe. Joey's not a fan of draws, so.
Yeah, things aren't looking too good, though.
No,
which is why I'm pulling out.
So, but we're glad to have him back here, and maybe he'll share some Vietnam War stories in the future.
Yeah.
I hope. But we're going to dive on into things in a bit. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to, whether it's on streaming services like Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, TuneIn, Overcast, Breaker, Google, wherever podcasts can be found. You can listen to the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. We're basically everywhere. Or if you're on our YouTube channel, which we are continuing to grow, we're closing in on 200 subscribers. So if you want to help us get to that next milestone, be sure to hit the subscribe button. You get a bunch of content, including Ryan's YouTube exclusive NXT UK reviews. You get Rob's SmackDown reviews every week, which are doing great. You get the AEW reviews now, and you get my continued coverage of the entire G1 Climax for New Japan. So plenty of podcasts to keep you busy if that's your thing. So be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can also follow us over on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling. All of the links to anything you need to find are in the episode description, wherever you're listening to, whether it's YouTube or on a streaming service. So if you want to find our social media, you can go there. If you want to find our YouTube channel, you can go there. Or if you want to find out where we're streaming, you can also find the links to those in the episode description. So with that being said, I should say, we're going to dive on into Quake by the Lake, which is the latest TV special coming off of Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen. And next week, I guess we also technically have a TV special, though it doesn't have like a special name. It's just presented by House of Dragon.
Yeah, I think it's just more like promo.
Yeah,
I wouldn't still really call it. Yeah, I mean it's a big card. I would say,
with 3 matches announced, it's a very big card. We'll get to it though. So kicking things off, we open the show with a big match, the third ever Coffin Match in AEW, which the first one was Ethan Page and Darby Allin, then it was Andrade and Darby Allin, and now it's Brody King versus Darby Allin, coming off of their insane singles match they had a few weeks ago on Dynamite, which Brody King won. So as Brody comes out and makes his entrance, Darby Allin appears in the darkness and just blindsides the big man here and just beats Brody with a skateboard covered in thumbtacks and then just like forces it against his head. And right out of the gate, Brody King is just gushing blood.
Oh, yeah, he got really busted open.
This was brutal. The blood on the show.
He stayed busted open, too. I'd say during the entire match as well.
Between him and Jericho tonight, there was, or yesterday, there was some brutal blood. So Brody gets busted open. They go to ringside, and Darby looks to take him out again with the skateboard, but Brody ducks. And slams Darby with a huge forearm here. And then Darby ends up firing back, getting another shot with the skateboard in as Brody is just like, there's like pools of blood at ringside.
Oh, dude. At one point, he like stopped and like wiped his eyes. And you could just tell that like the blood and sweat were probably like burning the shit out of his eyes.
Yeah, 100%. So that was fun. Eventually, they go back into the ring, and we get a code red off the top rope from Darby, and then he just like pushes Brody King to the floor, using his head to just like butt him out of the ring. Brody takes control and just like manhandles Darby, just flinging him against the barricades like a doll, and eventually just launches him into the front row. We go to commercial, and then we have a table that gets introduced as Darby's laid out on it. Brody climbs up onto the middle turnbuckle and dives off with a splash, but Darby rolls off, and Brody goes through it by himself. And as Darby then looks to set up for his big suicide dive, the lights go out, and the entire House of Black, which is Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, and Julia Hart, are all out. Darby goes for the dive still, but Julia trips him on the ropes. Buddy gets in the ring and nails, I don't think there's a name for it, but in WWE it was the Murphy's Law, which is his finisher.
Yeah.
And then
it's a nice finisher.
Yeah, I love the finisher. It's so good. Best finisher on 205 Live when he was there. Buddy sets up a table in the corner, and we get my favorite thing in wrestling, which is Brody King barking like a dog as the crowd does it.
As the crowd does it with him, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's a hot take, but Brody King's barking is better than Roman's ooh-ah.
Yeah, Brody was over here.
Yeah, he was.
He was really over, especially against Darby, who's like super over with the crowd.
I feel like that first match they had really did wonders for Brody King.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Pretty exciting, and also the Moxley match for Brody King as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
After the barking, Brody just with Darby set up on the table, Brody just cannonballs Darby through the table as the rest of the House of Black watch on. So, and then we get Malachi sending Buddy to the floor to open the coffin, and as Buddy opens the coffin, Sting's in it, and he
this
gets
was
out.
Good, honestly.
Yeah, it was a good reveal because the crowd was chanting Sting, wanting him to come out.
Yeah.
And I was assuming everybody was just expecting the lights to go out, but he was just sitting here in the coffin, and then takes out Buddy with the baseball bat. He takes out Brody with the baseball bat, and then he tosses it to Malachi Black. And this is like the first time we get the good shot of Sting's new face paint, where he has, since he took the mist, he now has like a black spot over his eye. So it works well since, he already has his face painted.
Mm-hmm. True.
But so he tosses Malachi the bat. Malachi takes it and but just walks away from Sting and refuses to fight, and just starts heading up the ramp. And Sting follows him. We get the cannonball out of the ring from Darby as Sting and Malachi are staring each other down on the top of the stage. Brody slams Darby Allin on the steel steps and then moves the coffin closer to the ring. He just like grabs Darby and sets up for that brutal, like, I don't even know what his finisher is called. I forget what it's called, but Brody King has that crazy finisher where he just like spikes you down like head first onto the ring.
Yeah.
And he looked to do it off of the apron into the coffin, but Darby gets off and then grabs Brody's chain that he wears during his entrance and chokes him out on the ropes until he passes out and just falls into the coffin with the lid closing like perfectly.
Oh my God, I know. This was a really good finish, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. Because it played off, obviously,
their past. Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. We've seen Brody choke out Darby, but now Darby uses Brody's own chain to choke him out and put him in the coffin. And Darby Allin wins. He's 3-0 in coffin matches. His own stipulation match, he's 3-0 in. I feel like that's not a typical thing. I feel like a lot of times when people have their own stipulation matches, they sometimes just lose.
Darby's breaking the cycle.
Yeah.
Switching it up.
What did you think about this opening match here?
Oh, I think it was. I thought it was great. Honestly, I thought this was like the perfect opening match for this show.
Yeah.
And the crowd was like hot off the bat. So like this crowd was actually really good tonight.
Yeah, they were pretty hot for like the entire show. I don't think there was really a point where they were like
so
dead.
That helped a lot. And then the Sting spot was really cool, and I really liked the of him selling the mist. That's really cool. Honestly, I love to see that. The funny part is about the whole Sting in the coffin thing. The fans must have seen him get in there at a point, right? Like at some point, like I wonder how they did that. You know what
I'm assuming he got in backstage and they just rolled it down to ringside.
That's a good point.
Because it probably wasn't out there for the dark taping. So I'm assuming before the show they just rolled it out.
That's hilarious.
I'm glad Sting. I wouldn't want to even be Sting in that position because you have to sit there for like 15 minutes laying down, probably more, just laying down in a coffin enclosed.
And he's an older guy, yeah.
Yeah, but I agree. I thought this was a really fun opener. Brutal stuff here.
For sure.
It's nice to see Brody King continually getting these singles matches because I really think he's quite impressive.
Oh yeah, especially for his size.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
How athletic he is. Yeah.
I'm hoping in the coming months that we get more Buddy Matthews singles matches because I love him, and I know Sam would be happy. It'd make Sam watch AEW because he loves Buddy Matthews for some reason.
Yeah.
But I hope he gets more, and obviously we now know that Malachi's been dealing with like a serious injury, so explains why he hasn't been doing many singles matches and is just doing tags. But it's good to see that the House of Black is.
Yeah, we'll get to his presence. His presence is always known, so it's nice.
Yeah, exactly. So I am glad that since Malachi and Buddy haven't really been around, that they've just at least given Brody a bunch of big singles matches.
For sure.
All right, after this, we get two promos from the two men in the main event. First, Jon Moxley's up and talks about Lionheart's fighting spirit and states that he's going to test it tonight and he's going to push it to the limit tonight. And if Jericho's fighting spirit doesn't break, then his body will. And then we get a promo from Chris Jericho, and he's shaved. He's clean shaven here. Looked like a fresh new man.
He had to. He looked like Lionheart.
Yeah.
He looked as young as possible.
Honestly. But he says after 2.5 years, he will become the AEW World Champion once again. Moxley wanted this, and he needs to be careful what he wishes for, as the pain Jericho was put through in the Heart Dungeon is something that he never wanted to think about again until now. He's going to stretch the shit out of Moxley, and he was the first AEW champion, and tonight he will be the next AEW champion. So pretty solid promos from these guys.
Yeah.
Sure. There's a reason that they're two of the top stars.
Exactly. Two of the top, mic workers in the business too. So it just all makes sense. So
after this, we would get the big reveal for the AEW Trios tournament, where we would get the brackets announced. Makes sense.
Some shocking names, yeah.
Yeah, and also makes sense that it's a smaller tournament, just because they were running out of time before the pay-per-view. But we
only got a few weeks.
Yeah, so the left side of the bracket is going to be the more stacked side of the bracket, as our first round matches are the Death Triangle, which is Lucha Bros and Pac, the current All-Atlantic champion, versus New Japan's Will Ospreay and Aussie Open, representing the United Empire.
Yeah, that's a huge first round match.
Huge. And then our other first round match, which it was announced is taking place next week on the House of Dragon special, is Andrade Rush and Dragon Lee as La Facción Ingobernable taking on the Young Bucks and a mystery partner. I wonder who that could be. And our right side of the bracket is going to be the Dark Order versus the House of Black, and the Best Friends versus everybody's new favorite team, the Trustbusters.
Yep, and my second favorite wrestler.
Hell yeah. So very exciting bracket, especially on the left side. It's interesting how they really paired this up, because you have Death Triangle versus Will Ospreay and Aussie Open, and then Andrade, Rush and Dragon Lee versus presumably Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. This is Omega's, most likely, if it is Omega, which the implication is that it is, this would be his return to the ring. You would assume he's not going to lose, which would then indicate that you would also assume that Ospreay and Aussie Open beat Death Triangle.
Right.
Because you would get the setup.
Yeah,
because Omega and Ospreay have their issues. So you would assume that they're going to start building towards that. Alternatively, you also have Death Triangle and La Facción Ingobernable, and the Lucha Brothers have been feuding with the Andrade and Rush, obviously, as we'll get to in a second here. So if Death Triangle were to beat Ospreay and Aussie Open, then you would have to assume Andrade, Rush, and Dragon Lee beat Kenny and the Bucks.
Right.
So very interesting. And again, we still don't know if it's Omega. I don't know who else it would be.
Especially after the news we got later on in the night. I thought it could solidify it being Omega. Just because I just don't know where he would fit in now besides this.
Yeah. I really don't know.
Yeah. It's really, I guess we just got to wait and see next week.
Yeah, we'll see.
But it would make a lot of sense to have Kenny Omega return on this show, because it feels like a bigger show and all that stuff. But yeah, I really don't know where Kenny fits in if it isn't in this trios title.
Yeah, I have no idea either, honestly. So it'll be interesting to see. But if they do go the route of having Kenny and the Bucks beat La Facción and Gobernable, and then Ospreay and Aussie Open beat Death Triangle, you would get a couple things set up, as you would presumably get Will Ospreay versus Pac for the All Atlantic Championship at some point,
right?
Which is a big match, and you would also most likely get Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay set up down the line as well.
That's true. I also think it's also interesting if it is Kenny Omega, because you can also definitely play in the whole, like with Kenny, it's like, hey, I wasn't the Bucks' first option. Hangman was.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And then you play with that, and then obviously, Undisputed is, still around too, and I feel like they're going to cross paths as well.
Yeah, whenever all of them get cleared.
Yeah, so yeah, it's really interesting stuff. No idea. It can go in either way for all parties, so that's what to see.
And then if we look at the right side of the bracket, I think it's pretty clear House of Black beats Dark Order.
Yeah, I think that's like the most given.
We'll talk more about Dark Order in a bit, because it is going to be interesting to see where Hangman Page factors into all of this.
Yeah, I would also say Best Friends and Trustbusters is pretty much a lock for Best Friends.
Yeah, I would assume it's Best Friends win. Just because if House of Black is winning, then Best Friends, face it versus heel.
Yeah.
So I would assume Best Friends beat Trustbusters, unless they're going for one big shock in the tournament and it's the Trustbusters beating the Best Friends.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. But the tournament gets started officially next Wednesday. Yep. And that would send us into our next match, which is Andrade and Rush versus the Lucha Brothers. I struggled to take notes on this for the first portion of this match, because it's just very fast paced and just a lot going on.
Yeah, tornado tag, no tags. Everyone was just in the ring.
That's right. Yes, it was a tornado tag. I forgot to write that down. But as far as big moves go, there was a double team Fear Factor pretty early on that got blocked by Andrade, as we got a big power slam from Rush to Penta. And then a double team move from Rush and Andrade, where they sent Phoenix off the ropes and just power slammed him onto Penta for a 2 count. We had stereo super kicks from the Lucha Brothers take down Andrade and Rush, and then stereo suicide dives from Phoenix and Penta to follow it up. We had Phoenix going for a frog splash off the top, but Andrade got the knees up for a near fall. Andrade teased going for El Idolo, which is his hammerlock DDT, several times throughout the match, but he kept getting stopped for the most part. We had him going for it. Penta gets in and just kicks him off of Phoenix. A big drop kick from Rush sends Penta flying into the corner. And then Andrade would nail the running double knees. Big step-up kick from Phoenix lands, and then a springboard, but Rush catches him off of the springboard into a powerbomb. And then Penta comes out of nowhere for a rolling cutter onto Rush as all 4 guys go down. We had a Penta nail, a Canadian Destroyer on the apron onto Andrade, which that's always not going to look fun to take.
Mm-hmm.
And then he looks for the Fear Factor on the apron as well, because Penta just wants to break everybody's necks, apparently. So that's fun. And Phoenix runs the ropes to go do like the assisted stomp for the Fear Factor. But Andrade just grabs the ropes and sends Phoenix back into the ring face first. That looked risky, but it worked. On the apron, Rush just gets a rising knee onto Penta, and then a huge headbutt to Phoenix, as Rush then because Penta has the danglies on his mask, so Rush just ties his mask onto the ropes, and then Andrade comes over and double knots it, as they just soak in the booze from everybody. A big super kick from Phoenix takes out Andrade, but Rush comes off the top rope with a diving drop kick, and then as he's going for the pin here, Penta slides out of his mask to break up the pin. So it's just weak. I feel like every week Penta's just getting his mask off.
Yeah. Unbelievable. You'd be disowned in Mexico.
Honestly. But very good near fall here. And Jose takes out Alex at ringside as Andrade chucks the mask into the crowd to prevent Penta from putting it back on. And the crowd starts chanting to throw it back.
Yeah.
Whoever caught it did not throw it back. So,
yeah.
Good guy fan over there.
Yeah. Definitely sell now on eBay later.
100%. The Bull's horns land for Rush in the corner, and Andrade then lifts up Phoenix, who is just like dead waiting here and looks like he's like dead as he drops him with El Idolo. And La Facción and Gobernable pick up the win. And what I thought was a very fun and exciting tornado tag match.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It was very fast paced. I mean, look who was in it. And it was chaotic, and I thought it was perfect. I really like tornado tags. They're it's very underrated match stipulation, I think. And yeah.
Yeah, I can get down with that. I also really like Rush and Andrade together. This is
for sure.
A massive step up from the Andrade Hardy family office. And
yeah, we can forget about that.
Yeah. And as it seems to be, because again, Dragon Lee is teaming with them next week. It appears he is joining the group.
Yeah, that would be perfect too.
So that's, again, Dragon Lee is fantastic. So again, big step up for Andrade, and I'm really digging Rush in AEW. I think he's had some really solid matches so far. So
yeah, I thought he's killed it each time he's been in the ring.
We go backstage, and the Young Bucks have Brandon Cutler recording as they enter the Dark Order's dressing room, and they thank Hangman Page for saving them last week, and they apologize for what they've said and done to Hangman over the past year or so, talking about when the Elite were on top and building the company together and starting this revolution. And Matt says how they were proud of Hangman when he won the world title in the building last year, and that he's sorry for not congratulating him. And he asks if next week they can bring back the Hung Bucks for the Trios tournament, but Hangman says that he's sorry, he can't. And he states that the Dark Order were there for him last year when he won the world title, instead of just saying that they wish they were. And so he's going to have their back during this Trios tournament, and he will not be participating in the Trios tournament.
Yeah, very, very interesting development, honestly.
Yeah, because I figured, so again, we didn't get the announcement for what team the Dark Order was. So when they first came into the locker room, part of me was assuming that when they asked him, it was going to be the reveal that we were going to get like Silver, Hangman, and Reynolds.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But then once Hangman said he's not in this tournament, I really don't know where Hangman Page factors into, one, this tournament, and two, All Out, because my assumption was that it was going to be Moxley versus Hangman if Punk wasn't back, but it appears Punk's back, so I really don't know where Hangman goes right now.
Yeah, no idea at all. For the Dark Order, who do you think is going to be their team? I think it's going to be Silver, Reynolds, and 10.
Okay. I don't know. I would assume Silver and Reynolds are in it, so it really is a matter of if it's 10 or Uno.
Yeah.
I feel like Silver, Reynolds, and 10 make the most sense. As
and then because Owens is like, or Uno is like their mouthpiece and stuff.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So, interesting stuff though. And the Young Bucks now need to find a partner that will face Andrade, Dragon Lee, and Rush next week in the opening round of the tournament.
And spoiler alert, I don't think it's going to be Brandon Cutler.
Yes,
as implied. Sadly,
unfortunately. Unless they do something where like the Bucks come out next week and nobody's agreed to help them, and so Brandon Cutler comes out, and then Kenny takes his spot as like the big surprise.
Yeah, I can see something like that.
Yeah. Luchasaurus versus Anthony Henry. This was maybe a minute long. Luchasaurus won.
Yep. I mean, as Taz pointed out, it was, or on commentary, I don't know if it was Taz, that it was probably less than a minute.
Yeah.
Well, Jungle Boy did say, because Jungle Boy was ringside for commentary, and he did say that he was not going to be out there for long.
Yeah,
and that's what he meant.
That's fair. I'm still interested on Luchasaurus as a whole, because he's still got like the Kane vibe going on, where he looks like a heel.
Yeah.
So
I guess you could also argue he's like supposed to be a dinosaur as well.
Well, he is a dinosaur,
right? Yeah. So you can kind of say like he can just be like he's a dinosaur. He's not a good guy or a bad guy. He's just in his natural nature of just being destructive because he's a dinosaur.
Yeah, fair enough, I guess.
I gotta say, I do like his music. I do like his new look and stuff. And
I like the music. I like cool. The fire. I like the black mask and everything.
It's definitely a better direction for him, I think.
Yeah. So after the match, Christian Cage is on the big screen and says that the people of Minneapolis don't deserve to see him, as Jungle Boy gets off commentary saying he realizes where Christian is and runs backstage. He has to be held back by security, and Luchasaurus comes back to take out the security and even headbutts Pat Buck to try and give Jungle Boy
oh no,
some freedom here.
I think Luchasaurus is going to get in trouble for that.
Yeah, so my assumption is we're getting Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy at All Out.
For sure.
I think Christian should win.
I agree. I think Luchasaurus should be banned from ringside or something.
Okay.
They could go off Luchasaurus is suspended for attacking Pat Buck, who's one of the officials backstage and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see that, but I also think Christian should win.
Yeah, because again, this feud has been great, and I feel like if they really want to solidify it, agreed, keep it going and really just solidify Christian as one of the top heels, and then when Jungle Boy beats him eventually, it's a bigger deal than him just winning on the first try.
For sure.
I'm also not sure if Luchasaurus is going to stay with Jungle Boy. Him just attacking an official back here. I feel like there is potential that Luchasaurus could go back to being a heel.
And just kind of get away from both of them. Just get away from Jungle Boy altogether.
So we'll see. But it'll be interesting.
For sure.
We have a Miro pre-taped promo where he's talking about the devil and says that says that the devil is here, and he's seen backstage with Julia Hart, who last week on the podcast when Miro was talking about getting a message from a woman, I did correctly predict that it was going to be Julia Hart. I know some people thought it was going to be his wife. I thought it was going to be Julia. And it was Julia here, and she tells him to accept the blessing that the House of Black has given him. She caresses his face, and he says that only one woman can touch him, and it's not her. And he says that he accepts the curse, and he will use it to tear down the House of Black. So again, he continues to mention Lana / CJ Perry in his promos, and Julia has been more featured. So I would assume, and she's been outspoken that she wants to work in AEW with Miro. So I would not be shocked if she comes in for this feud at some point.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
But yeah, again, I was really upset that Miro didn't just start shooting on Tony Khan and demanding his release in this promo.
I know. I was expecting that.
Yes, he hates
those reports.
Yeah,
lied to me. Unbelievable.
How awful.
For real.
Mark Henry is backstage talking to Powerhouse Hobbs. I feel like this is the first time we've seen Mark Henry working as a backstage interviewer on Dynamite.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen him on Dynamite for a while.
No. So he's just backstage talking. I mean, we didn't really see much of him. He's just holding the microphone. He's talking to Powerhouse Hobbs. And QT Marshall comes in with the rest of the factory, including the newly joined Cole Carter, formerly Two Dimes in NXT, and Nick Camarado in one of the most outrageous outfits I've ever seen. He looks like a new man compared to how Camarado used to dress.
Yeah, it's so weird. Why is he dressing like that?
I think they're just leaning into it. I think they're going to become the Mafia.
Okay, that makes sense, I guess. Yeah.
QT, I have said since QT went heel that this man dresses like Tony Soprano.
That is a good point.
So now we have Nick Camarado, who looks like he's part of the mob. But QT Marshall basically implies that Hobbs should join the factory, and Hobbs walks away. And then we go to the ring for Satnam Singh, Jay Lethal, and Sanjay Dutt, as Sanjay talks up Satnam Singh's destruction of Wardlow at the end of after the match with with Jay Lethal at Battle of Belts, not Orange Cassidy. And Lethal says that last week they sent a message, and Wardlow either needs to defend the belt against him one more time, or they will find him and take it from him. Wardlow shows up and says that if Lethal wants another shot, he's got it, but tonight he's going to whip all of their asses as FTR's music hits and they make their return to Dynamite, joining Wardlow for a mini Pinnacle reunion here as the champs head to the ring and chase off Lethal's crew. Sanjay looks to distract them as Lethal slides in the ring for a cheap shot, but he gets caught with the big rig, and that was the end of the segment. So we're going to get Lethal versus Wardlow once again. I thought their match at the Battle of the Belts was good. I thought it could be better. So, with more time and more build, it could be a better match.
For sure.
I'll watch it again. And I'm assuming, I don't think they're going to do a trios match here. I don't think Sanjay's going to wrestle again.
No.
But, yeah, I I don't really know what the point of FTR was. I mean, they were making backup here for them for Wardlow, obviously, but I don't really think FTR is going to get too involved with this.
No, I think it was just backup for Wardlow.
So I'm curious as to like what FTR's
pinnacle history.
Yeah, I'm curious as to what like FTR is going to be doing for All Out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Obviously, they are still, I think, the number 1 ranked team. So
I can see them going for the tag titles.
Yeah, it's either that or they're defending like one of their sets of tag titles on the show.
Yeah, that'd be cool, honestly.
I don't see them not wrestling it All Out.
If they defended the what is it called? IWGP titles.
Yes,
Sorry.
IWGP title.
Against like some New Japan talent. That'd be cool. At All Out.
Yeah, I'd be down.
Yeah.
It could I'm trying to think. It could be Aussie Open like challenging them because Music City Mayhem, Aussie Open did technically beat FTR in a trios match. So
okay,
and they did say they want a shot, so it could be them. But who knows?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We have a backstage promo from the Jericho Appreciation Society with Daddy Magic showing off his nipples briefly because his nipples are hard for Chris Jericho.
Oh, yeah.
And says that history will be made tonight as Jon Moxley's run comes to an end. Tonight, the JAS are going to have an appreciation party with a little bit of the bubbly. Garcia says that Danielson needs to appreciate him because he's the Dragon Slayer. And Anna Jay chokes out another production worker. And that was that.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I enjoy Anna's just incessant choking out of random workers.
But it's funny, yeah.
Ricky Starks versus Aaron Solo of the Factory. Prior to the match, we get a portion of the Road 2 special highlighting Solo and Starks' history as a tag team on the independent scene, which I appreciate. It seems like every week now we're getting like the recap videos and vignettes on Dynamite are dedicated to Ricky Starks, which I like. It feels like they're really trying to build Ricky up as like the next big thing.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's already over with the crowd and stuff.
Oh, so yeah, absolutely.
It's perfect.
So I like it. It really makes Ricky look good. Solo takes control early, just laying into Starks in the corner as we get loud Ricky Starks chants. And Ricky fights back with a big rope-assisted tornado DDT. He follows up looking for Rochambeau, but Solo gets out. Ricky attempts the spear. Solo dodges and attempts a corkscrew kick, but Ricky then catches him with the spear, and Ricky Starks wins. So they're establishing that he has 2 finishers here. He has the spear and the Rochambeau. But yeah, this didn't need to be long, and it wasn't. So that's all that matters. Yeah,
for sure.
After the match, Nick Camarado, still in his Mafia outfit, storms the ring with a chair. Starks takes him out with a spine buster, which is obviously like a direct shot to Will Hobbs. And Factory comes down to take the numbers advantage as Starks just runs into the audience to celebrate the win and escape them as we cut backstage and see Will Hobbs destroying the TV backstage.
He wasn't too happy about that.
No, he's not. So I'm assuming we're getting Hobbs versus Starks at All Out as well.
Yes.
Who do you think should win? This is a hard one.
I think Hobbs should win this one.
Okay.
I say continue to build up Starks. Really get the crowd on his side, and make Hobbs even more of a bigger heel.
Yeah.
And I think it just in the long run it'd help like both of these guys, honestly. So I would say Hobbs let Hobbs win this one.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think if I was going to do it, I would have Hobbs beat Ricky, and then I would have, because it seems like it's a pretty regular thing that they do now around the time of Full Gear that we get the Eliminator tournament. I would have both of those guys go into that tournament, but like on opposite sides of the brackets, and probably have the finals be Starks versus Hobbs for a title shot.
That would be really good, actually.
Yeah, and then have Ricky win that, and then you can get Ricky versus Punk or whoever's champion down the line.
For sure.
After this, we go backstage for an interview with the Gun Club as Lexi Nair's there, asking for an update after the dumpster match. And Billy asks his sons how they could ruin the only match that he ever made famous.
Yeah, that's fair.
Brilliant.
Pretty mad, too.
Stokely Hathaway shows up and offers them his card, but Billy Gunn shuts him down. and he says that he got them a match for Rampage, and Danhausen shows up, and it's against him and the big bearded fellow. So as soon as he said the big bearded fellow, me and Ryan, while we were watching, were actively trying to figure out who this was, and we could not, for the life of us, come to a conclusion on who this was. So the reaction we had when they announced this, the team, was pretty great.
Yeah, I was a little lost too.
Yeah, because I was trying to think of like big bearded guys in AEW. It was like Satnam Singh, and it wouldn't be him.
Right.
I said either of the Bear Country guys, but that would be pretty random. Yeah, I don't know. But we'll get to who it is in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think about Stokely giving the Gun Club the card? Do you think that this is going to lead to the Gun Club joining, or do you think Billy throwing it away is just like he's going to get a different tag team, or what?
I think they'll take the card,
Okay.
honestly, and I think Billy will be more of like backstage presence.
Fair enough.
And let Stokely do his thing with the Gun Club.
Yeah, I'm very curious. So as of right now, it's Stokely Hathaway, and he has Lee Moriarty has taken the card. Ethan Page has taken the card.
Yep.
He's given the card to the Gun Club. They haven't accepted it, obviously, but the implication is that they probably will. And I believe if you're going by the photo he put out, that would leave one more slot.
True.
So I'm curious to see. Again, I have seen a lot of people online suggesting that this could be MJF's new group of people that think they deserve more. My still big curiosity with this group is the Lee Moriarty factor. I feel like he's such a natural babyface.
Yeah.
That it feels a bit weird that he's going with them. So I'm not against it. I really like Lee Moriarty, and I'll be happy to see more of him whenever they get started with this group. But I am interested to see who the final member would be, or if there is a final member, or if it's just Lee Moriarty, Ethan Page, Stokely Hathaway, and the Gun Club. So
for sure.
Yeah. The best friends are then backstage as the Trustbusters show up, with Daivari offering Orange Cassidy a spot in the group as he continues to try and build the ranks. Cassidy says whatever Ari's question is, the answer is no. The best friends will learn firsthand what happens to those who say no to Ari Daivari, and the two teams will face off in round 1 of the Trios tournament, and Ari Daivari will face off against Orange Cassidy on Rampage. So
is that his in-ring debut for AEW?
Daivari?
Yeah.
No, I think it's his in-ring debut for AEW under his new name, but he's wrestled a few times as Arya Daivari.
Okay.
And he wrestled at Death Before Dishonor, but that's Ring of Honor, and it was the pre-show. Right. So, but yeah, we also got Parker Boudreaux just standing there like growling. So I'm glad he's still just being creepy. And Slim J, the GOAT.
Yeah.
My new favorite wrestler.
Slim J.
What a legend.
Vanilla Ice.
Absolutely. Madison Rayne versus Jade Cargill for the AEW TBS Championship would be up next, as Madison would get some offense early on, but Jade would take control at ringside before going into the commercial break. When we came back, Jade just drops Madison with a stalling vertical suplex for a 2 count. Jawbreaker from Madison Rayne gives her a bit of a reprieve here before taking Jade down with another neck breaker, and then going up top for a flipping neck breaker that scores a 2 count. We had a choke from Madison that Jade counters into a vertical suplex, but Madison counters that with a DDT for another 2 count. Kira Hogan then gets up onto the apron for the distraction as Jade comes up with the pump kick, but accidentally takes out Kira. Madison gets a roll up for 2, but Jade then does land the pump kick. Jada gets looked for, but Madison gets out of it, but Jade then gets back into it and ends up connecting with Jaded as she wins, retains the AEW TBS Championship, and moves to 36-0 on her undefeated streak.
Big.
Thought this was a solid little match. Wasn't anything too special. Wasn't Jade's best match. Wasn't Madison Rayne's best match.
No, but it was fine. Yeah.
Yeah, this was not bad, and the crowd wasn't like dead for it. Post-match, Athena would get into the ring, and she would just lay into Jade. I believe this is their first time properly getting physical in some time. Kira Hogan would pull Jade out of the ring, leaving the TBS Championship, as Athena would hold up the belt before the segment would end.
Yeah, I'd imagine Athena's going to be the one to knock her off,
so
especially with the Chris Statlander news.
Yeah, so AEW did announce during this, like right after this, that Chris Statlander is officially injured and that she has been taken off of the rankings. Since then, it has come out that she's most likely going to require surgery on her knee. So Statlander is going to be out for the foreseeable future. I would assume Athena beats Jade.
Yeah.
And then whenever Statlander's back, you can immediately go to Statlander versus Athena. Statlander claiming that Athena took her spot, whatever you want to do. But
right.
I think Athena winning makes sense, and it just, it capitalizes on her because she's still fresh.
For sure.
We would go backstage for an interview with Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm. And they were addressing that Toni Storm has officially moved up to the #1 spot thanks to Chris Statlander's injury. Toni's going to be in action next week, and she's looking to keep the momentum up, and she will be coming for the title. And Thunder Rosa kind of just dismisses it as saying, we'll focus on your match next week, and we'll figure out something about the title down the line. So, for a team that's supposed to be friends, it did kind of feel a bit dismissive from Thunder Rosa, who has, been like a fighting champion and has been like, I'll fight anyone, anytime. So I did think that was an interesting character choice here.
Very interesting, yeah.
My assumption is that we're still getting a multi-woman match at All Out. Or at least I guess that's what I'm hoping for, is that it's going to be Thunder Rosa versus Toni Storm versus Britt Baker versus Jamie Hayter if Jamie's cleared, because, again, she did break her nose, but they still have, a few weeks before the show.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that makes the most sense to me, is doing a 4-way, or I guess a 3-way if Britt's cleared. But regardless, I think coming out of All Out, Toni Storm should 100% win this championship.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think Toni's been on fire since she's come in. She's really over with the crowd. She's delivered in pretty much every match she's had. And I feel like it's just the time for Rosa to lose it. And with Rosa, being like doing this like dismissiveness towards her tag team partner, it feels like it just makes sense that you would turn Rosa heel.
For sure, yeah.
Toni wins, and then Rosa turns and chases the belt. So
makes most sense.
Yeah, so I'm hoping Toni Storm wins it All Out, personally. Whether it's a multi-woman or a singles match, I just think the time's right to put the belt on Toni. After this, we would get the rundown for what has to be the most things ever announced for Rampage, as we got several promos announced, with Bryan Danielson makes his return and speaks, Hook will speak, and Swerve in Our Glory will also speak. So three big things there. Obviously, Danielson's first appearance since losing to Garcia in his return. Mm-hmm. Hook's first time speaking since winning the FTW title, and Swerve in Our Glory, which maybe gives us an indication of where they're headed for All Out.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
And then our matches: the Gun Club versus Beardhausen, which is Danhausen and Eric Redbeard.
Dream match.
The pop Ryan made when this happened.
Oh my God, I could imagine.
And then we will get two Trust Busters match.
Trust Brothers better.
With Parker Boudreaux versus Sonny Kiss.
Oh, okay.
And Ari Daivari versus Orange Cassidy. This is the first time Sonny Kiss has been on actual TV since I don't even know when. I would assume that they're losing. Mm-hmm. But, this does follow up on Ari Daivari trying to recruit Sonny into the faction.
True.
So we'll see what goes on and if that does come to form. I like Sonny Kiss, so if they want to, give them something to do.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'd be down with it. And a title match. The AAA Intergender Mixed Tag Team Wrestling Championship, whatever it's called, is on the line as Sammy Guevara and Ty Mello. She's no longer Ty Conti. She is Ty Mello. Will be defending against Sky Blue and Dante Martin. So, looks like an interesting Rampage. Still not like anything too massive happening on the show, but it looks like a fun hour.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot going on for sure. Yeah.
And then AEW Dynamite next week, presented by Game of Thrones House of the Dragon. We have our first Trios Championship tournament match with the Young Bucks and their mystery partner taking on La Facción Ingobernable, Andrade, Rush, and Dragon Lee. Mm-hmm. Toni Storm versus Kylan King, making her return to AEW. She has not wrestled on TV in I don't know how long. Her last match in AEW was, I believe, on AEW Dark in sometime late last year. But
wow.
She's mainly just been doing the indie scene. She's wrestled in NWA, but she was somebody who was, during like 2020 and early 2021 when we were doing the no crowd shows, she was like an active part of AEW for a while. So
yeah, for sure.
Cool to see her back. She's gonna lose, I would assume, but
yeah,
she's somebody who, like, if they're gonna make more signings for the women's division for AEW and Ring of Honor, she's somebody who I would consider.
Yeah, she would make sense, honestly, for how long she's been around.
And then a match that I don't think anybody foresaw happening. Bryan Danielson versus Daniel Garcia 2 as we go to a 2 out of 3 falls match.
Which I assume is going to be the main event.
It's interesting because I would assume so, but if Kenny Omega is making his return, do you save it for the end or do you open the show with it?
That's true.
Because
that's true.
Because like, if it's Omega's return. Okay, so here's how I see it. If Kenny is returning next week, it's the main event. If he's not returning, that's going in the opening slot.
Okay. But who would you think the Bucks' partner is then? If it's not Omega?
If it's not Omega, then I would have to assume it's somebody from Bullet Club randomly. But like, you got to remember that like Jay, Phantasmo, Chase Owens, and Juice are all in the G1, so it's not them.
Okay.
So I don't know who else they would do. Like, again, it feels like it is going to be Kenny Omega. I don't think they would announce like a mystery partner when everybody's speculating it's Omega. Like, I feel like Tony knows that everybody's assuming it's Omega, and I don't think, based off of how he's booked stuff in the past, I don't think it's going to be like just a nobody.
Yeah.
If anything, I think they do the fake out where like the Bucks say they don't have anybody, Cutler comes out with them, and then Kenny shows up for the big pop. But if it's not Kenny, again, my assumption is it's somebody from Bullet Club, but I don't know who it would be that would make sense.
Right.
It's Carl Anderson.
Please? No, it's Doc Gallows.
It's Doc Dangly Gallows.
Jeez.
So that's Dynamite for next week, and they did also announce that on Rampage more matches will be announced. So, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if we get like we could get like a hook match or Swerve in Our Glory match based off of them being there.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't be shocked if we get the Trustbusters versus Best Friends, since we're having the 2 like preview matches on Rampage.
For sure.
And that would send us to our main event, which when this started, I think we had like 30 to 40 minutes left of Dynamite. So it was very clear this was going long.
Yes.
Before we actually do this, I do want to look up the time for how long this match went. So we had Jon Moxley versus Chris Jericho here. And this is the first time that these two are meeting in singles action since Revolution 2020.
I know, a long ass time ago.
When Moxley would dethrone Jericho.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this was 22 minutes and 37 seconds.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Long main event for Dynamite. But Jericho's out with his WCW Lionheart theme. So no Judas. He's out in special like black and yellow gear, and he also has like an old like a Titantron that's showing off his old matches from like New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So a pretty cool throwback here. And really just cemented the difference in this match between just like sports entertainer Jericho and Moxley, which I really appreciated. And right out of the gates, the crowd split as we had dueling chants for Moxley and Jericho, and we get my favorite thing in wrestling, chain wrestling, to start off.
Oh yeah.
Jericho looks for shoulder tackles, but Moxley doesn't go down as Jericho just slaps him across the face, which is always a good thing to do to Jon Moxley. The walls get looked for, but Moxley blocks it as Jericho takes him down with a few different submission holds, which would be something that would be on display a lot through this match. Is if for those who watched the Road 2 special, Jericho talked up that made reference to his list of 1001 holds that he knows, and he did bust out a lot of different submissions throughout this match.
Yeah.
But he would prevent an early bulldog choke from Moxley. We'd get hard chops traded in the center of the ring, as then we would get the spot that most people will remember from this match, as Jericho yanks the earring out of Moxley's ear. and then hits a springboard drop kick to Moxley on the apron, and Moxley would come up bleeding as we went into commercial, because it's not a Jon Moxley match if this man doesn't bleed.
Of course not.
The back from commercial, the running lariat gets blocked from Moxley as Jericho catches him with a backbreaker and a lion salt for a 2 count. The 2 trade submission holds with an ankle lock from Moxley getting put in before Jericho drops him with before he drops Jericho with a German suplex, and Jericho fires back with a German of his own. As Moxley then gets lifted onto the top turnbuckle, Jericho sends him back down with the Super Rana for a 2 count. He takes Moxley out to the outside of the, he drags him around the ring post and wraps the leg, repeatedly slamming it against the metal before locking in the figure 4. And as commentary notes, it was a tight hold. It wasn't a loose figure 4. It was held in very tight. And then we go to the Walls of Jericho and a picture-in-picture break as Jericho keeps Jon Moxley locked in for the entirety of the picture-in-picture break.
He doesn't want anyone to miss anything.
No, and I I believe Sean Ross Sapp tweeted out on Twitter that in one of Jericho's books he mentions how draining the Walls of Jericho is for his legs.
Oh, I'm sure.
So to have it sat in for an entire picture-in-picture break, most likely, and then partially when we come back from commercial break, most likely was not a fun time for Jericho.
No, not at all.
As we come back, the everybody is standing, cheering for Moxley to get to the ropes, and he does. We have another springboard dropkick from Jericho, but Moxley evades it as Jericho wipes out on the floor, and then Moxley goes up high and comes down to the floor with a diving axe handle, and then just mounts Jericho and just starts beating him. A code breaker from Jericho lands back in the ring, but he takes too long to cover as Moxley kicks out at the last second.
Mm-hmm.
Sammy Guevara shows up in the crowd and has Floyd the Bat and throws it to Jericho, but overshoots the ring.
I was about to say he threw it over Jericho.
Yeah.
It was a really bad toss there.
Was it a bad toss, or is Sammy Guevara just showing that he's so strong?
Yeah, I think he's going to go to the league.
I think so.
Trying to be a quarterback.
So he throws the baseball bat in. And as Aubrey's distracted after Jericho undoes one of the turnbuckle pads, we had a bat shot to Moxley for another big near fall. An inside cradle from Moxley, but Jericho gets out as Moxley then locks in the rear naked choke before getting sent into the exposed turnbuckle. The Judas effect lands, but Moxley kicks out, and commentary suggested it's the first person to ever do so.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's the truth.
Yeah, I can't remember a time where someone did. So.
Yeah. We have a rear naked choke. Moxley transitions into the Bulldog. He just unloads elbows to the head of Jericho. Jericho gets out and elbows Moxley's head as he transitions into the Lion Tamer. And at some point, Jericho went into the exposed turnbuckle as well. And this man,
oh my God,
gushing blood. I have never seen Jericho bleed so much, even in the Nick Gage match.
Oh,
this was brutal.
Good thing it was in the end of the match, basically. Because I don't know if he'd be able to make it.
No, I don't know if he would have been able
beginning.
to. Moxley breaks free, and he unloads with elbows into the back of Jericho's head. So Jericho's just taking a beating here before he locks in the rear naked choke once again, locks the legs around the midsection. Jericho teases that he's going to get out of it and get to the ropes, just lifting his hand and shaking it, but he taps out. Jon Moxley wins and is still the AEW Interim World Champion. What did you think about the main event?
This was really good. This was easily their best match together. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think even if we were going to go back and look at their match I don't know if they had multiple, but their big match in WWE, which is the Ambrose Asylum match, which was the steel cage with the random weapons. I think this is 100% their best match that they've had together.
Oh, for sure. And this is one of the better Jericho matches as well, honestly.
Yeah, I really want to just continue to point out, as I'm not a Jericho hater, so I have no issue, giving the guy praise. Anytime they give him a big singles match lately, he delivers.
Yeah, and he goes above and beyond, does some blade jobs. And
well, yeah, you look at this match.
I gotta give it to him.
This match was great. Gonna ignore the shark cage one just because the ending and how convoluted it got. So ignoring that one. Yeah. The first Eddie Kingston match was phenomenal.
For sure.
His matches with MJF were great. He was part of Anarchy in the Arena, which was fantastic at Double or Nothing. The Nick Gage match last summer. Like Jericho's had a bunch of really, really strong matches over the last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he doesn't get as much appreciation as he deserves.
Blood and
ironically,
Guts too.
Yeah, Blood and Guts as well. So again, I thought this was a really just fantastic main event. Definitely the best match between these two. And if this is Moxley's last defense of the Interim World Championship, then it's a very fitting one, I think.
Yeah.
So, and it was basically the summer of Moxley.
It was. Yeah, he killed it, honestly.
And we're still not done because All Out still is technically within summer. Summer ends at the middle of September, so
yeah, that is a good point.
We still got some more time with Moxley for him to get some more big matches in. But yeah, I thought great main event. And after the match, there was still like 6 minutes left in the show, so we knew something was happening.
Right.
And I thought they did good here because it made it seem like it was just going to be another like mindless brawl to end the show.
That's what. Yeah, exactly. That's what I started thinking as like both sides started coming out.
Yeah, so Sammy and Hager stormed the ring and beat Moxley down, and Eddie Kingston, Ortiz, Wheeler Yuta, and Claudio then run out to even the odds. But Garcia, Parker, and Matt Menard come out, and the JAS take the advantage here once again. And so then Jericho gets the belt, and at this point they're like teasing that he's going to do the belt shot, and they're waiting. So it's like, okay, something's happening. And as Jericho looks to take Moxley out with the belt, Cult of Personality hits for a huge reaction here as the arena goes wild, and CM Punk arrives and makes his way out. No walking boot, and he does get physical here.
Yeah, runs down to the ring. Yeah, starts hopping on one foot.
Yeah, and starts limping and then saying, I'm injured.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I was shocked, honestly. I did not expect his return.
I was too, again, because all we've heard for the past like month or so,
he was in bad shape.
He was in bad shape. He said he had to relearn how to walk and that he was like in terrible amounts of pain.
He worked us. He definitely worked us.
Yeah, so I guess the rehabbing, probably went better than expected or something. I'm assuming he's still not at 100%, and I don't think he's going to wrestle before All Out.
No.
I think they're going to make sure he's okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, but very good surprise. Everybody was expecting something was going to happen on this show, whether it was Omega or Punk returning.
Yeah.
And we got one of them, and we got the indication the other is happening next week. So I can't see anybody being mad.
Not at all.
So overall, I thought this was a really good special. I don't even say special, just a very good episode of Dynamite. A named episode of Dynamite, but I thought it was a really good show.
Yeah, it was very strong.
I thought it was bookended by a fantastic opener with Brody King and Darby Allin, and a fantastic main event from Jericho and Moxley, and then obviously the return from CM Punk, and some also other good stuff in the middle of the show as well.
Yeah, it was a very well paced show.
Yeah, I thought last week's episode of Dynamite was arguably one of the best paced episodes they've ever done, and I thought this week was another really well paced episode.
Yeah, they definitely followed it up.
So, and again, just as a reminder, we don't review Rampage for the podcast, so not going to go over that again. But next week for Dynamite, the 3 matches we have are the Young Bucks and a mystery partner versus La Facción Ingobernable in the opening round of the Trios tournament. Tony Storm versus Kylan King, and Bryan Danielson versus Daniel Garcia in a 2 out of 3 falls match. So, yeah,
big matches right there.
So we want to thank you for joining us for this week's review of AEW Dynamite Quake by the Lake, the first ever edition of Quake by the Lake. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a rating. If you're listening on the podcast feed, if you're on like Apple or Spotify, leave a rating for the podcast. If you're on YouTube, leave a like, leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of the show. What was your favorite match? What was your least favorite match? Who do you think is going to win the Trios tournament? Are you looking forward to All Out? Let us know.
And hit us up on Twitter as well. If you have any questions, you can DM us, or you can just, add us and, about this week's episode and what you thought. And so it's at Deep Six Wrestling without the G. Yeah,
absolutely. And we will, again, on Twitter, on YouTube, if there's comments or tweets, we will always reply to you. So,
for sure.
Don't feel like you're just tweeting at nobody. We will reply.
Yes.
So thank you again for joining us, and we'll be back. Hopefully the two of us will both be back next week for another review of Dynamite. I still have more G1 coverage to get through, so you'll hear more from me sooner rather than later. But also, as we head in towards the weekend, Be sure to come back and listen to Ryan and Angelo's Impact Power Hour. Emergence, the next Impact Plus show is tomorrow, if depending on when you're listening to this. It's Friday, August 12th. So if you're listening to this on Saturday, it already happened. So that's going on, but they're going to be talking the latest on Impact. I believe Killer Kelly is making her in-ring debut. And then Rob will be back on Friday/Saturday for our weekly SmackDown reviews. So plenty of stuff to keep you busy if you're enjoying the Deep Six Wrestling podcast. So, but for me and Joey, that's going to be it. So we want to thank you once again for joining us as this reunion of our podcast happened.
Yes, sir.
And we will talk to you in the next episode.
Adios.